If you and Trump got in the ring, he loves his UFC and stuff like that, right? If you got in the octagon, you and him, who'd win?
Come on. Guy's 78 years old. I'd kick his ass.
The British public have been watching on in recent months. It looks like a very bad time to be a television presenter in Britain at the moment, doesn't it? And there's something sort of baffling, I think, to the general public about this. There have been these two massive scandals of two of the most prominent faces in television.
Philip Schofield and now
Huw Edwards. I think there are lots of things to take in mind. I agree with some of what's been said. I mean, effectively, we're back into the old problem of actually it's a problem at the BBC of oversight of BBC procedures. The BBC, of course, always quite understandably comes into the headlights and the firing line of everybody else because, you know, everybody's got criticism of the BBC. The BBC always tries to please every party, and very often it fails to please any party. So it seems to be it's something to do with BBC governance and oversight that's the issue here. I'd say two other things. One is the whole thing of, you know, we have to go to mental health hospitals and all this sort of thing. You know, men are idiots, and men are idiots a lot. And I do think that the sort of pathologizing of men making mistakes into always having to be a mental health issue is, you know, maybe something to be discussed another day, but it is a problem, that.
If you and Trump got in the ring, he loves his UFC and stuff like that, right? If you got in the octagon, you and him, who'd win?
Come on. Guy's 78 years old. I'd kick his ass.
I mean, we know that Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg are apparently going to get in.
Yeah, I can't wait for that one.
Do you want to be on
Did you see that picture of Zuckerberg?
Yeah.
Looking pretty buff.
He does.
If I were Elon, I'd be a little bit worried.
I mean, would you be prepared to be on the undercard, you against Trump?
Look, I'll fight Donald Trump anywhere he wants, in any arena he wants, whether it's on a debate stage or in the octagon.
He's mocked your weight, Trump.
Yeah, look at him. Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, for goodness sakes, come on. I mean, look, you know what? Here's the bottom line, Piers. You know, for the last 30 years, I've struggled with my weight like tens of millions of Americans struggle with their weight. And there are times where I do well, and there are times when I don't do very well. And it's a struggle. And for him to be such a child, an infant, and make those kind of remarks, especially, I guess, when he's staying up in Bedminster, New Jersey, there are no mirrors where he is. Because all he needs to do is look at himself, and what he should do first, work on himself. Then when he gets himself, because, you know, he wears those ties, you know, 8 feet long. The world's longest ties, yeah. Yeah, 8 feet long, because he told me this, because they slenderize him. Let me tell you, fail. Not working.
But you were 9 when your uncle John F. Kennedy was assassinated. You were 14 when your father was assassinated. They're very formative years. I've got 3 sons who both, you know, all 3 of them came through those ages. Very formative years for such cataclysmic things to happen. What impact do you think those 2 huge events had on your life?
Well, you know, I think they were national traumas. And they were part of the national traumas. You know, there were basically kind of 5 or 6 traumas. Martin Luther King's death, my uncle, my father, the Vietnam War, and 9/11 and COVID that pushed our country in a bad direction down the road to be, you know, the military-industrial complex and to becoming kind of a surveillance state at home. But from my own personal point of view, you know, my mom told us something when we were really young, told me something when one of my brothers died. And I said to her, does the hole that they leave in you when they die, does that ever get any smaller? And she said, no, it never gets any smaller. But our job is to grow ourselves bigger around the hole by taking the best parts of that, the best virtues of that person who died, and trying to incorporate them into your own life, into your own character, as part of the mourning process. And that builds you bigger as a person, so the whole proportionally gets smaller.
Brian, great to see you here in New York. You have a place here, you spend a lot of time here.
Well, my family, all my boys are here. They're American. Yeah. That's what they have to be. My youngest is currently in Thailand and is about to go to Emerson College. And my eldest of the second family, he's at the Atlantic Theatre School, and he's now directing a project for the summer. So and my wife's here. So, but I'm about to go back to England because I'm going to be doing work from England.
With your kids, have you got the succession sorted?
Yes. Yeah, they get nothing. The one thing I've learned is don't give them anything.
It's quite interesting, actually, because that's become quite a debate where a lot of people take a view, give the kids nothing, others take a view, give them something, others spoil them ridiculously. How have you actually been as a father in that regard?
I think I'm fair. I think I've been a father at different financial stages in my life. I mean, there's a time when I was, I had my first wife was very smart with money, so I was quite good at that. We're not so smart with money on this side, but we're doing much better.
I actually, on my WhatsApp chat with my 3 sons in their 20s, I often send them Logan Roy gifts as responses to their various observations about what I should be doing to help them. It's very useful.
I love the way you say observation. You mean their needs?
Yes. Demands.
Demands, yes, exactly.
I'm a targeted individual. As I say, for 6,000 years there has been a Jewish civil war, and nobody knows about it, and I speak about it a lot. But it's, it's at its climax right now, and I have been targeted by, largely Jewish people on the other side of the political spectrum. Our view is centered on whether Israel should exist or not, and these are things we don't talk about in public. But when I ran for president in 2012, they used to stand up and it was always Jewish people with silver ponytails, Marxists, they would stand up. I ran as a socialist. And they would stand up and scream, "What about the illegal occupation of blah, blah?" And I couldn't believe it because they would do it over and over and over again to attack me because I'm a Jew, I think. But Marxist Jews are not the same as the kind of Jew I am, and that's what really makes me mad, because when people assume that there's only one kind of Jew, they're missing a load of history. And I feel like, I'm here to speak to that. And also, the context that I used was about the internet is full of Holocaust denial, Nazi comments, and saying, but the thing they always say is, no Jews were killed in the Holocaust, but it should happen. That's what they all say. And it's all over BitChute comments, YouTube. It's wall to wall. That's why I left Facebook. It made me so sick. It was wall to wall anti-Semitism. And these same people, these socialists, aging socialists, which I won't even go into what a scam socialism is. I've talked about that online a lot. But anyway, they have made me their target because they don't think that I'm the right kind of Jew. And they don't think that any Jew who thinks like I do is the right kind of Jew. And so I have to live with that, and it is within my community. And it's just like when black activists come on and talk about, being targeted by their own community too. It's much the same. It's a cultural war, and it is between, the far left and normal, sane human beings.
Sarah Brady seems to be relentlessly posting all their old text message exchanges, which I just don't think is on anyway, one. Secondly, when I've read them all, Jonah Hill's perfectly entitled to just lay down some boundaries, isn't he? And if she doesn't want to go along with it, well, fine. And she clearly didn't really, so they split up and that's it, and they move on. But she won't move on and now wants to shame him. Why?
Well, when I first read the text, I thought maybe Jonah Hill was being unreasonable, because if you're going to date a surfer and they put up swimsuit photos, you can't be that shocked by it. But that was before I knew that it was a year and a half later. He's just had a kid with his girlfriend, so I would just say she's looking for attention, obviously. So he was probably right about the swimsuit photos in the first place, being irritated by them, because it was probably for attention, given she won't give it up now.
But Kat, I mean, why are we reading all this? I mean, they split up. He's met someone else. He's become a father with somebody else. I read them. They're not like abusive. It's just him saying, I would prefer you don't do this. This kind of conversation goes on in every relationship, doesn't it?
Yeah, I feel like now everything has to be some specific therapy word, and that side or another. I think he was being kind of a jerk in that conversation. Don't start dating a surfer if you're not comfortable with these things. But also, yes, Yes, and she's clearly looking for attention because she keeps posting more and more things.
It's cringe-making.
And none of us, I don't care who you are, none of us would look awesome based on our worst text we've ever seen.
I mean, I would. A biological male has been voted Miss Netherlands and will now take part in Miss Universe. Michaela, your thoughts?
I hope he wins Miss Universe. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I don't even know how to react to these situations because women fought so hard to get where we are today. I was just looking at the picture of the Boston Marathon runner in 1967, and it's this woman, and she's being grabbed by men on the track because women weren't allowed to compete. That's where it started. And now we're here, and there are men competing in our sports, and I have no idea how feminism came full circle.
It's so bizarre. Roseanne, let me ask you the most difficult question in the world, apparently. What is a woman?
How much do I weigh?
No, what is a woman?
A woman is me. A woman is somebody whose breasts hang down to her stomach and who has a prolapsed uterus from giving birth to 5 ungrateful little bastards who have never had to work for a thing in their goddamn life. That's what a woman is.